Hello, everyone, and welcome to our morning meditation here in California in Redwood City and around the world at different time zones. And today, the general topic going along with the talks on the sources of caregiving, is compassion. And for me, compassion has been an extremely central feature of my life, my adult life, and how it became such a central feature was gradually and imperceptibly for me, unplanned, but came from sitting peacefully enough, calmly, in meditation and in my years of Zen practice, sitting close to my own suffering. And at some point, being changed, healed in some way, through a field of compassion, of care, of people who understood my suffering, felt it, had compassion for it, had recognized it, were offered their kindness, offered their accompaniment with it, and seemed to want me not to suffer, seemed to demonstrate another way of living, another way of being with suffering. And so one of the meanings of, for me, how I came to understand compassion with passion being here the Latin word for suffering, like the Passion of Christ, is the word with suffering, I translate it as accompanying suffering. And having the ability to accompany one's own suffering when it's there, accompany it with care, love, accompany it with attention, the kind of attention where we don't, our identity, our sense of self doesn't get absorbed into the suffering, but we realize that there's a different way of attending and being with suffering, and that is to accompany it from some place in the heart, in the mind, in the belly, that is not suffering, but cares about the suffering, recognize it, is willing to accompany it in a way to make space, open up to it, make room for it, and not be troubled by it, so that the inner suffering can find its own healing, can find its own relaxing, can find its own balm, can find its own way of working through it. And this is the miracle of meditation and spirituality for me, is how much self-healing there can be, how much we don't have to do much except to accompany. Deep, profound accompaniment, listening, being present. So for this meditation, whether you're suffering or not, to consider that meditation is the art of accompanying all of who we are, accompanying what is here within this psychophysical being, in our mind and body, where the accompaniment, the attention that we offer, is a calm attention, is a soft attention, is an attention that is kind of like listening to a friend who's troubled, and just really being a listening presence, being an attentive presence, not trying to fix, but really here. So to begin, we want to do our best to establish a degree of stable calm, stability and calmness. It doesn't have to be dramatic. And then have that as a basis for this profound accompaniment, profound listening, profound presence that provides the room, the medicine for the self-healing, the self-transformation, and the self-growth that our psychophysical system is capable of. So to gently close your eyes, and with the eyes closed, to give a little more attention to your posture. And to then begin the process of stabilizing and calming, taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in and feeling your body as it is. Deep breath, feeling it. And on the longer exhale, to relax, soften. Then letting your breathing return to normal, and continue for a few moments, few breaths, to feel your body as you breathe in, maybe with the idea that the filling of the lungs, the expanding of the belly is stabilizing, grounding. Maybe if as you breathe there's a downward momentum or pressure, gentle pressure. Sometimes when I breathe in, I feel a slight pressure downward pushing my sitting bones. As if the sitting bones are becoming rooted in the earth. And then on the exhale, to soften throughout the body, breathing in, breathing out. And if any part of breathing feels easeful or pleasant, any part of the cycle of breathing in and breathing out, imagine that easeful feeling is here to accompany you as you are, without any judgment about how you are, or without needing to change anything or get rid of anything. That is simple, the simplest aspects of breathing is a gentle accompaniment of how you are. Like how a person might reassure you that they're there and they're supportive by gently touching your elbow or your shoulder, maybe the back of your hand. Perhaps the breathing can be like that, reassuring. And as you breathe, to also feel the tensions and agitations, if they're there, in the thinking mind. As if the breathing is here to reassure and accompany the thinking mind so it can relax, soften. As if attention rides on the breathing and is lifted into the thinking mind, directed to the thinking mind by the breathing, for calm awareness of a mind that has some agitation, tension. like waves on the lake that are stirred up by the wind. But when the wind calms, the waves settle. And now with a calm attentiveness, calm attention, accompany yourself in whatever way that feels supportive of you. Accompany your suffering so it can heal. Accompany your, your spirit, your Dharma growth so something can grow. Accompany your attachments so they can self-liberate. Compassionately accompany as if you're listening deeply, attending caringly for yourself. And as we come to the end of this sitting, to feel your way into yourself, to where you might feel stability and calm. And imagine how useful that stability and calm can be in accompanying, tending to people you know who are going through a difficult time, or with strangers who are challenged that you meet. Or even those that you pass on the street, homeless, poor. And how with this stability and calm, compassion, a simple compassion can be present. That is there to even briefly accompany the suffering of others, so they're not alone in their suffering, in their fear, distress, sadness. So that your kind, stable, compassionate presence shows them that there is an acceptance, a room for their suffering to self-heal. To know that there are people who care and have been touched by the depth of their humanity. May it be that as we grow in this practice of meditation and mindfulness, that we become increasingly capable of compassionately accompanying the challenges of others. Compassionately listen, be present. May all beings be free of suffering. May all beings know that there are others who care and notice them and share in the holding of their challenge. May all beings be safe and be offered an accompanying presence that brings peace and calm and room for people to be themselves. May all beings know the power of self-healing. May all beings know the brilliant light of self-freeing. May all beings be happy. Thank you. So, good morning and good day. And this is the fourth talk on the sources of caregiving. And today's topic is the source of caregiving that's probably most commonly associated with caregiving, which is compassion. And many Buddhists put a tremendous emphasis on compassion. And compassion is, I think, a very profound emotion, attitude, practice, partly because compassion belongs to some place that has a very deep, personal, intimate source or operating system deep inside of us. That with compassion, when we're open, we're cultivated a kind of presence, openness, sensitivity that taps into the deeper places of care and compassion, that we allow ourselves, we become people who the suffering of the world, the suffering of others, can touch something very deep and essential and core in our very being. It's something, as we the layers of armor, the layers of resistance, preoccupation, disconnect we have, begins to relax and soften. We start feeling more the deepest sensitivity within us, kind of almost like a core of what it means to be a human being. And to have the suffering of others touch this deep place means that we are somehow moved deeply. We care deeply. And there's something about encountering suffering that touches this deep place in a very different place than, very different way than almost anything else. And not that it distresses us, not that it, because the source of distress in us is a very different place in this soft, deep sensitivity. Distress belongs a little bit more to the surface mind. It belongs more to the story-making mind that, or the mind of attachment or resistance or fear. And to have all those kind of surface kind of things settled, to feel the suffering of others, can certainly be uncomfortable in very profound ways, but also there's a rightness to it. It feels right. Sometimes it feels very sweet, or feels kind of very dare I say, beautiful sensations inside, or sweet sensations. Or it just seems so amazingly right. Of course, if they're suffering, I want to feel it. I want to hold it. I want to be there for it. It's right to be open to it. And so this word we have in English, compassion, comes from the Latin root passion, that means suffering, like the suffering and the passion of Christ. And so come means a with. So on the surface it might look like suffering with others, but it isn't that we want to have the same suffering as them and be as distressed, be as hurt, be as maybe sometimes incapacitated as other people can be in their deep suffering. But the with for me means to accompany. We're here to accompany people. To accompany means to be present in a calm and stable way. Just like if someone's distressed and they just need someone who can really listen well, listen attentively. We sit with them and we're there to listen. Maybe lean forward a little bit. And nothing's required of us but be a really active, good listener. Uh, so sometimes all we need is provide our presence. It doesn't have to, maybe the people don't want to speak, but they just want to be accompanied. Someone who has some great suffering might be very meaningful that you go for a walk with them and you walk in silence. And so they know that there's someone there sharing the space, holding them, accompanying them, someone who recognizes and knows the difficulties they're going through. And that's enough. It's easier for them to be with their own challenge if they have that accompaniment. So suffering with, together with, accompanying with, being present with someone. Um, and that's the beginning of compassion, is that ability to accompany and to listen and to hold in a way that feels very profound or meaningful for the person who has the compassion. So of course I'll be here. Why not? I mean, this seems like the most important thing. And then compassion often has the idea that we would want people not to suffer. We want them to be free of their suffering. And there's an art to that wish. And the art of it is, it can be very meaningful for people to know that that's what other people want them well, are well-wishing them, want them to be freer of suffering. Have a vision of them becoming free. That they're not being left alone to suffer, just suffer and suffer, that no one cares. But to care means also to want that suffering to be over, to be healed, to be softened, to be liberating in some way. And to feel that someone's not trying to fix you or feels like something's wrong with you that you're suffering, but accompanying you with something is right here. Something is right, not in the causes of the suffering, but something is right about really caring, attending, accompanying suffering, so that the self-healing of the heart, the self-healing of our own inner life has a chance to function. It's phenomenal, the capacity of our inner life to self-heal given the right conditions. And in our practice of mindfulness, one of the right conditions is a non-reactive, clear mindfulness that learns to accompany even our own suffering. We learn how to be with it without fixing it, without struggling with it. We just hold it like we're listening deeply, so that it's not our thinking mind that is trying to fix and try to solve the suffering, but rather is a thinking mind that's there to support this gentle, open, deeper sensitivity that can hold calm attention to suffering. And so when we're with other people wishing their suffering comes to an end, that it begins with that. Just people feel that. And I know in my own life, one of the biggest moments of experience, transformative moments that I felt compassion from someone else was I just felt the person's care for me, attention, fully there, feeling, knowing, recognizing my distress. And I could feel the person wished it were otherwise, but was just making lots of space to let it be there. And that was the right recipe for some a really deep feeling of respect and possibility and openness that I had never known before. And then, after these two things first, learning to accompany with calm attention, listen deeply, having a real sense that you would like it to be otherwise for the person, then, if it's appropriate, compassion can be put into action. Where maybe we find someone a glass of water. Someone's been in a car accident and they're shook up, and so We go sit next to them. We put a blanket over them. We make sure they have water. Very simple actions to kind of stabilize and support people. And bring people a Band-Aid. Bring them food. Whatever it might be that we can do to make a difference. But rather than it being a pro forma, kind of just giving them something because they need it, and that's all we have to do, that doesn't really convey the depths of what compassion's about. The depths of it, so it really can touch the depths of someone else, and we can share the depths of this human experience, is to have learned how to deeply take in and feel the suffering of the world, know how to accompany it calmly and stably, learn to listen and be present that way for others, recognize this wish that we have for the suffering to end, and somehow skillfully kind of let that be in the relationship, and then to offer some way to support and to help, whatever seems appropriate in the time. So compassion is, because of its deep connection to some place core to what it means to be a human being, that maybe touches us or activates something very different than generosity, or very different than goodwill, very different than not wanting to harm. For some people, makes compassion one of the most profound sources of caregiving. And so maybe so. But we have one more source of caregiving, which is the one that I feel is really the most fundamental one that holds all the others. And rather than emphasizing how profound it is, it's almost, I want to emphasize that the most fundamental form of caregiving that's a source of all the others is also the one that is most ordinary. So that'll be anukampa, or I translate as care, a word that I keep using this week as I've been talking. So, so in the meantime, today, look for opportunities to recognize, to learn about, to run into the suffering of our suffering world. You don't have to look very far. And maybe don't look for the greatest ones, but look for situations, look for experiences where you see it, know it, read it, witness it, accompany someone with it, and see if you can do the first step of compassion. Just simply accompany, simply listen. See what it's like to allow it to touch the deepest place inside of you, as if you don't have to do anything more, but accompany it. And see what that's like. And because in doing that, you're also accompanying yourself as you experience the suffering of the world. Thank you.